We talked about these letters from the Department of Justice to the former Biden business associate Devon Archer over the weekend. Saturday letters from the DOJ about when he needs to report to prison, and then a Sunday letter saying, oh, no, we didn't mean to say anything about it. We know he's going to testify Monday behind closed doors in the Oversight Committee. We weren't trying to step on that or do any kind of intimidation there. Wouldn't imply that. Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana's 4th District, who also serves on the Judiciary Committee, is joining us now on the broadcast, a good friend of the ACLJ. Congressman Johnson, thanks for joining us. You believe that this might actually indicate the need for the Judiciary Committee or the government, the Weaponization Committee, to come back to Washington during this recess to investigate the Department of Justice and this intimidation.
Archer has shown us going through the deposition as planned, but it certainly stinks to high heaven, guys. Look, this is not an isolated incident. As we well know, this DOJ has been weaponized. I mean, there's a long pattern of abuses. We've been detailing that in the House Oversight Committee, the House Judiciary Committee, everywhere we have jurisdiction. And it looks as though, I mean, pretty clearly on its face, the issuance of this letter on a Saturday, they're recanting basically on a Sunday. They were trying to intimidate the witness. It is witness intimidation. It's obstruction of a congressional investigation. And it's very, very serious business.
You know, Mike, it's mind-boggling to me. I've been practicing law for 43 years. That they do these things as if no one's going to pick up what's happening. So here you've got a lead witness in a congressional investigation that your committees are involved in. You serve on Judiciary. This is a huge issue. It's Hunter Biden's business partner. He's already been convicted of and has a 1-year sentence. All of us, they don't hear from him for months. All of a sudden, as soon as he acknowledges he got a subpoena and is going to testify, what happens? He comes up and says, I get a letter from the Department of Justice saying, hey, Judge, we need to get a reporting date for this guy because he hasn't filed his notice of appeal yet. And you know, we think he needs to go to start serving his prison sentence. Interestingly, during that same period, the next day in 24 hours, they have to, as you said, kind of pull it back. We talk about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. I'm very concerned also about this renewal of 702. You know, I supported the FISA court for a while, and I don't anymore because the FBI, unfortunately, can't be trusted with it. And we've seen the abuse, including colleagues of yours, a sitting U.S. senator being surveilled without notice, without due process. I think we've got a real problem here. How do we get control of a runaway, dangerous bureaucracy?
This is the big question, Jay, and it keeps us up at night. I mean, we're in unprecedented times. It feels like we're living through a Tom Clancy novel or something right now, but it's real. It's actually happening. And you're right. The reauthorization, 702, is a huge issue. We are against the full reauthorization without serious reform because they've shown, as you noted, that they have abused that authority. But they've abused it in so many areas. I mean, in the Judiciary Committee, in the Weaponization Committee, I serve on both. We've been detailing this for the American people to see. The mainstream media, of course, is trying to cover it up. You got to go to alternative sources to find the facts. But at some point, the facts become so glaring that no one can avoid it anymore. I mean, clearly, Merrick Garland's DOJ is in on it. They're trying to cover for the first family. You know, we just got this huge, really landmark federal court opinion out of Missouri v. Biden, the litigation down in the federal district court in Louisiana on July 4th. And the judge says that if all these allegations are true, and the evidence points to that, this is the most massive cover-up, the most massive attack on free speech in United States history. I mean, there's nothing of greater magnitude than this, and we have to change it. We have to force reform, whatever it takes to do that.
You know, we're expecting another indictment of the former president to come down as early as tomorrow. They've been saying it for a week now from Special Counsel Jack Smith, this time on the January 6th matter. And I think this one could raise really serious, you know, I know you're a big advocate, as I am, of free speech and First Amendment, but the First Amendment doesn't just protect the freedom of speech. Of course, it protects the freedom of association, and it protects the right to petition your government for redress of agreements. And it seems like this Department of Justice is writing that out of the Constitution.
It does indeed. This DOJ has no regard for the First Amendment at all. It's as if they don't even understand it. I mean, we had the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, in front of us just a week ago, and he knows and that they were engaging in the cover-up, in the censoring, the silencing, suppression of conservative Americans' free speech. I mean, these are in court records now. This isn't Republican talking point. And his agency, among many others, at least 9 in the Biden administration, were engaged in this sort of whole-of-government approach to to push down and suppress the voices they disagreed with. I mean, it's a blatant violation of the First Amendment. When I asked Secretary Mayorkas, just as one example in this administration, under oath, can you define what misinformation is since you created an entire agency, a sub-agency, to patrol that? Of course he can't do that. This is exactly what the founders were warning us against, that they feared, that the government would be in a position one day to determine what is true and acceptable to be heard. That's why you and I have devoted most of our careers to defending that freedom. And it's imperiled right now more than it has ever been, Jay, and everybody can see it.
Congressman, I think it is true. And we're about to announce at the ACLJ tomorrow a really big initiative to stand up for those people that are trying to speak out and tell the truth, but are being threatened with unbelievable consequences for simply sharing their First Amendment rights. So we'll get into that. Congressman, thanks for being with us. We appreciate your work, appreciate your efforts.